Hello guys, welcome once more to Class Online, and my name is Dami. In this video, we shall be looking at questions on topics that many students find very difficult. Like we talk about radioactivity, we talk about half-life, and we shall be destroying them. So if you have problem with those questions, with those topics, you might want to stick to us. Now we shall be looking at Jamb Physics 2016, question number 31 to 35, and we shall be destroying those questions. Don't forget that if you learn anything from this video, click on like button. We have loads of content that will better help you understand physics. Now let's get to number 31. Now, the principle of operation of an induction coil is based on, is it Faraday's law, Ampere's law, Ohm's law, or Coulomb's law? Do you have any idea? Now, if you don't, I'll tell you. Now, this just is here. We have the principle of operation of the induction coil was given in 1831 by Michael Faraday, and that means the answer is just Faraday's law. But this is what the principle says. Faraday's law of induction shows that if the magnetic field through a coil, we have coil. Now, coil is found in an electric motor, right? And the coil keep alternating. That's why the motor keep moving. So it's switch. The magnetic poles switch, and when it switch, that principle is what Michael Faraday explained. Now, it says that if the magnetic field through a coil is changed, an electromotive force, the force that makes it work is called an EMF, or an electromotive force, is induced, whose value depends on the time rate of change of magnetic field through the coil. So it is an interplay between the EMF and the magnetic field in between the coil. We learned that in physics, we learned that when current is passing through, it's passed through a solenoid. When you wind wire around a metal, and that's the way electric motors are created. If you wound wire around metal, okay, and you put current inside the wire and you pass current through the wire, now it will produce a magnetic field around, and that magnetic field is going to spin the metal or the solenoid in between, and that's what we have here. It spins by electromotive force, but the field that creates that force is the magnetic field, and the magnetic field is also created by the current that flows through the wire or the conductor that you put around the shaft or that solenoid, and that is the answer to the question. So the answer is just Michael Faraday's law. It is Faraday's law that explains the induction coil. Now, don't worry if you don't fully get me. We will take time to explain this properly on a video on induction or on this kind of set of electromagnetism. We will explain this properly. But for now, we have to tackle past questions, and then we have to take the question one by one. And that's why we made little explanation on that. But still to us, you will get more videos that will better help you understand this process. And let's check out number 32 now. The radioactive sample initially contained N atoms. After three half-lives, the number of atoms that are disintegrated is what? Now, do you think it is A, 7n over 8, or 3n over 8, or 5n over 8, or n over 8? Now, whenever you hear the word radioactive half-life, and it went through 3 half-life, and it was initially n, what you have to do is as simple as basic one question. Just look at this, what I did there. This is what you have to do. I wrote n, it breaks down into n over 2, because that is half-life. And half, half means over 2, right? So if you have 10 over 2, that's half, and that's just 5. So the first half-life is n over 2. The second half-life is n over 4. Why over 4? 2 raised to the power 2 is 4. So it is all in the power of 2. 2 keep increasing. Then the third half-life is n over 8. That's 2 raised to the power 3. So here I have 2 raised to the power 1, then 2 raised to the power 2, which is 4, then 2 raised to the power 3, which is 8. So the next one will have been 2 raised to the power 4, which is 16. So it went through 3 half-lives. So this is the first half-life, second half-life, and third half-life, and that will give me n over 8. And that's how you answer questions on half-life. And that is the answer to the simple question. And that is number 32. Let's take out number 33 now. Mercury is suitable as a barometric fluid Because it what? A. Expand uniformly. B. Is several times denser than water. C. Is opaque. D. Is a good conductor of heat. Now, which one do you think might be correct? Why do we use mercury not as a thermometric but as a barometric fluid? That means we use mercury for making barometers. Do you have any idea? Why not water? Why mercury? Now, is it because it expands uniformly? Does mercury expand uniformly? Yes. Is it because it is several times denser than water? Is it denser than water? Yes. Is opaque? Is mercury colored? Yes. Is a good conductor of heat? Is it a good conductor? Yes. Now they are all yes. But if the question is said as a thermometric substance or fluid, all of them will have been correct. But the question said as a barometer, that means something that affects pressure. Now, which of them has to do with pressure? When something expands, it doesn't actually directly deal with pressure. Now, look at this. When we talk about opaque, it doesn't actually directly deal with pressure. Now, the reason why mercury is best is because of this drawing. I just use a drawing to explain that. Now, look at water. If you use water as a barometric fluid, now look at what happens. You will need to get a very long tube. For water to respond to atmospheric pressure, you must the length of the tube will be extremely high. Why? Because water is very less dense. It is less dense than mercury. So that means that water is not best, because look at the kind of tube I have to get to be able to show atmospheric pressure using water. You have to have a very long tube, and that will be difficult to even carry. It's not possible. But if it has to do with mercury, you don't need a tube that is too long. Mercury responds because mercury is extremely dense. So the amount of reflection of mercury will reflect atmospheric pressure with low height. So the height difference between water and mercury, can you see the height difference? Water responds very highly, and that will be very, very difficult to calibrate. But if it is mercury, you can see a little response. Why? Why is it responding this way? Because mercury is thicker or more dense than water, or is denser than water. That's why it is better than water. Now, when you come to density, we are talking about height. So if the height is too long, like atmospheric pressure, if the height is too long, it will be difficult to read, because this what you have in water here is extremely long. It's not that it's impossible to read, but it is more difficult. But mercury is more sensible because it is thicker or denser, so it does not give you excess height. So if you want to build a barometer, it is better to use mercury than water, because the height can be easily read. You don't have to carry long tube around. Like if someone says, can you please come help me read the pressure at this point? Just take a simple barometric, a simple mercury barometer. Okay, but if you have to use water, you need to take a long tube, very long tube, and that will be extremely difficult to read. It is going to be extremely difficult because water has to really expand much for you to take any reading with water. So the answer is therefore because mercury is denser than water. It is several times denser than water. That's why mercury is better than water. And that's the answer for number 33. Now let's see number 34. Which of the following is not a characteristic of natural radioactivity? A. Radioactivity is a nuclear phenomenon. B. Radioactivity is exhibited only by elements of mass number greater than 260. Yet it is heavier. Natural radioactivity is heavier. C. The radioactivity of an element is affected by electric and magnetic field in its surrounding. Is that true? D. Radioactive substance emit 3 types of radiation: A. Alpha, beta, and gamma. Now, which of them do you think is true? Now, about natural, it's not true about natural radioactivity. Now, let's check it out now. Fact about natural radioactivity. Let us focus on this one. Emission of radiation due to self-disintegration of a nucleus. That's true. So the particles disintegrate on their own. So in the natural, now that's what I'm saying, that radioactive substances that are found naturally, that are not made by man, but are found in nature, they break down on their own, and that is true. Then the second one, and that means it is a nuclear phenomenon, so it happens on its own. That makes option A 1 to be correct. And even all radioactivity are nuclear, so that's natural. Then that means option 1 is correct. Now this next one is alpha, beta, and gamma radiation are emitted, and that's what you have as option D. It is also correct. In natural radioactivity, you have 3 radiation: alpha, beta, and gamma. And you know alpha is positive, beta is negative, and gamma is chargeless. And that is also true. So option A and D are correct. Now options, the next one is a spontaneous process. That means it continually happens, it never stops, and you can't stop it. They exhibited by element with atomic number more than 800 and more than 83, and that's what you have here. The reactivity is exhibited only by element of mass number greater than 206. If it is more than 800, if it is more than 83, if it's more than 83, it will be more than 206, and that is also true. But the only one that is not true is that the radioactivity of an element is affected by electric and magnetic field in the surrounding. That is a big lie. So it is not affected. Now you can't see it here. It cannot be controlled. That's also true. Natural radioactivity can be stopped. It's continual. That's why it is a spontaneous process. But this statement that the radioactivity of an element is affected by electric and magnetic field in its surrounding is not true, because natural radioactivity occurs on its own. It can be stopped, and it is not affected by magnetic or electric field in nature, and that is not true. So the wrong answer is therefore option C. It is not affected by electric and magnetic field in its surrounding, and that is the answer to that question. Number 35. Which of the following is a correct explanation of the inertia of a body? You must have heard about inertia from the first law of motion. It is the law of inertia. It says that a body will remain at rest forever, or will move with uniform motion on a straight line unless altered by an external force. That is the first law of motion. It is also called the law of inertia. Now, the inertia of a body is the amount of stubbornness now that the body has, or the amount of resistance to motion that the body has. Now, this body that has sand, this bucket with sand, has more difficulty to push than this one. So that means since this bucket is full of sand and it is difficult to push, it has more inertia. That means it has more stubbornness to motion. It doesn't want to move. But this one is easier. That means it has lower inertia. It is easier to push. It has lower inertia. So inertia is only when a body can't be made to move easily, because it is full. That means it has higher mass. The mass of the body is high. That means the body has higher inertia. So let's see the option now. Reluctance to start moving at once, and it's reluctance to stop moving once it has begun to move. B, reluctance. B, reluctance to stop moving. C, readiness to start moving. D, reluctance to start moving and its readiness to stop moving once it has begun to move. So the simple answer to that question is therefore A, and the reason is because inertia is reluctance to start moving. It doesn't want to move, like this bucket. It doesn't want to move, and it's reluctant to stop moving once it has begun to. So if you set it into motion, it will not easily stop moving, and that's what I mean. It has reluctance to start moving, and it has reluctance to stop moving once it has begun to move. And this is made clear by the first law of motion. A body will remain at rest. That means it does not want to start moving. Okay, and it will move with uniform motion on a straight line. That means if it is moving, it will keep moving with uniform motion on a straight line, and that's what this one is saying. It doesn't want to move at first, and its reluctance to stop. That means it will not stop easily once it has begun to move, and that's what we call inertia of a body. And that brings us to the end of this video. Don't forget, if you learned something from this video, click on the like button. We have loads of content to send to you that will better help you understand physics. Until we see you next time, guys, take care of yourself and bye for now.